Kosirog, I'm the superintendent. I've been the superintendent for 5 years here at Culver. We have a really great school. I'm very proud of the school that we have, and I'm just excited that you're here, really, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about Culver back in the day.
Niles Public North.
Yeah.
We were the first
he was the superintendent, so
Yeah.
someday there might be a school after you.
I hope not. That'd be a good thing.
Yeah, Murphy was.
We were the first fifth grade class.
Yeah.
We were here the year it opened.
It opened. That's what I was wondering, because
Oh,
out
wow.
front,
That
there's,
was, yeah.
I know there's a plaque, you know, in bronze. In '65 it was open. That was the year I was born, actually. Yeah. Thanks for that. What a guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have, the school is actually growing at the moment. We have about 630 students. And you had a big graduating. It was like 68 people when I look at the picture. I don't know if you've seen it.
87.
87, so that
Wow.
would be huge.
Wow.
We don't have 87 in any class today, so that must have been a really, big growing time really for the community. I think about 10 years ago we were at a low point, like in the 500s, and I think some of the neighborhood has turned over, so now we're growing again. There was an addition, I think this was part of the old school, maybe this was the outside wall here, all of that over there in '98. All of the administrative and offices and stuff were built, and I think a large part of the other side of the school was built as well, and they brought all the kids over from South School here in '98. We still own South School, as a matter of fact, but we had a private therapeutic day school in there, a special education program for 20 years. And they left after last year. And so actually right now we're in the process of selling South School, I hate to tell you. But the good news is, well, I don't know what's going to happen to South School, but we're working with a developer who wants to turn South School into nice apartments. So they're going to rehab it. This would be very interesting. And if you wanted to live in your old school, the rents are going to be like $2,000.
When did they put the fence around the school? Is that before your time? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. But I hear though, I can tell you lots of stories. We have done a lot of work on the school. We're actually getting ready probably to build another addition onto the school. In the back, this would be another gym, a fine arts wing, and some more classroom spaces, which we need. So I think this is going to happen in about the next 5 years, maybe 3 years from now, construction is going to start. There's a TIF that's expiring where South School is, and that's going to provide the district some money to build the addition. So TIFs are for 23 years in Illinois. I don't know if you're familiar. And 23 years ago, it was established, and now it's about ready to expire. So I think that'll be a nice addition. I think the school is really a great school. If you looked out front, you saw that exemplary designation that we got. The state of Illinois now rates all of the schools. And exemplary means that we're in the top 10%. Our students really do well in terms of their standardized test scores and their growth.
We started it.
Yeah.
A lot of what
They started it.
you guys are doing now emanates from us.
Yeah. We've done a lot of really neat things. We have preschool. Basically, anybody that wants free preschool can come and take advantage of our preschool program, and that's since I've been here. So we have full day kindergarten, and like I said, we're up to about 630 students now total in the school. We still go to Springfield. Our 7th graders now go to Springfield. We remodeled this boardroom. We've been working on remodeling this over the last couple of years, and I found those pictures kind of in some archives that we have, and I know that they're from the 60s. That's all I know. And there are the Springfield trip. Is one of those is that one of them?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you do? Yeah, that would be great. I know they're from the 60s though. There's actually an inscription from the Secretary of State that's on them. And so I don't know exactly what years those are. Not 69. But we still go to Springfield trip. All the 7th graders go. We try to run a program to Washington, D.C. But really our low-income enrollment is about 50%.
Wow.
So it's, to go to DC, it costs about $1,400. It's hard for students to afford a $1,400 trip. So we kind of go about every other year. We went last year to Washington, DC, but 7th graders go to Springfield now. And well, that's kind of an overview. I'm excited that you're here. What questions do you have for me? I'd be happy to take you on a tour.
I might have given back. Was there a gym, one of the gyms named after Mr. Murphy?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, right, this whole school should be named after him.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember who's the coach?
I guess it's still in.
Now Liska.
Yeah. I know. So I was. I think one of the teachers was going to come, but 50 years is a long time. So the longest, probably the person that's been on staff here the longest now is probably about 32 years, something like that, is the longest. So really, it's probably been quite a while since anybody that taught here, worked here. Which is
Probably a
really
good
tough to
thing.
say.
Want 'em to.
Yeah.
So do you have the band? still?
We have a great fine arts program. We have a full-time band teacher who's fantastic, Mr. Lindeman. Band starts in 4th grade through 8th grade. You get lessons during the day. And we also have a full-time orchestra teacher too. Orchestra starts in 3rd grade. And we have a really great fine arts program. We have a play that we put on. We have a full-time music teacher
We have a
besides. Everybody takes music and art specials. And 7th and 8th grade takes a Spanish class. All of them do.
No French?
No French.
Who knows French? Tony, yeah, Tony.
Oh, sure.
You're my pal, Jeff
I only remember the signs around the room.
Yeah.
Everybody
She was-
gets their own device,
was-
all the students have them, so starting in kindergarten through 2nd grade, they all have their own iPads.
Nice.
And they'll get to take them home. and
That you
take them
provided
to-
for them.
Right,
Okay.
and 3rd through 8th graders, they all get a Chromebook device, and they get to take those home starting in 3rd grade. So that's a little bit different. Even when I was in school, we didn't have computers at all. In fact, when I was in high school, we had the first computer I remember. They had this big punch card sent through the computer back then.
What about that home economics?
Yeah.
That,
That's what I learned.
yeah, I know, somebody was telling me about home economics.
Yeah.
Learn to sew.
It has been, you know, that has totally gone away from almost all the middle schools
Wow.
It's a lost
now. And so, it's very difficult. There's only, I think, 2 schools in the state of Illinois that have home it's called Family and Consumer Sciences now, yeah.
That's what my daughter teaches.
Yeah, but there's only like 2 schools in the state of Illinois that actually have programs now. And so there's very few teachers, and they all teach at the high schools because they tend to pay a lot more money than
Yeah, I
elementary
know,
schools
they
do.
offer in high school.
Yeah.
Do you still have cheerleaders?
We do have cheerleaders.
Can you give us a cheer?
Were you a cheerleader here?
Well, yeah, you're still
Really
Bulldogs,
still the
right?
Bulldogs, yeah. Yeah. We, the Bulldogs, we're gonna be the Bulldogs as long as I'm here forever.
No, they're gonna protest and want.
There's another school in our conference though that's also the Bulldogs, which is a little awkward. And we've gone through some like Bulldog, like mascot kind of trying to figure out what a good-looking bulldog for elementary school kids were. We've gone through like the really dopey-looking bulldog that's very friendly, and then we've got like the really mean-looking bulldog with red eyes. So we can't quite get it right on the bulldog, but yeah. But the home ec and you know, when I was in school too, we had home ec and we had shop class too, but really I think that probably in the 90s in all of the schools in Illinois, probably that went away. we have, our specials now have a big tech component, it's called STEAM. Science,
Gabriella,
technology,
please come to the
art,
office for a moment.
engineering,
Gabriella.
maths.
Terry Meisner, report. We should have paid them.
It's a tech class, and that's the special that's really taken the place of a lot of that, and so that's probably true in most schools as well.
Have you done anything with respect to, considering the times with active shooter and all of that?
Yeah, that's another big issue really today too. So, the kids now, I mean, it's a tough thing. I mean, I don't really want to get into the politics really of it all, but it really is a scary thing because there's so many shootings, and even as superintendent, maybe like 5 years ago, I would think, in my mind, I knew we had to be prepared, and we were always prepared. I would say, well, you think, the chances are like 1 in a million that this is going to happen. But there have been schools in Illinois, like over the last 3 years, where they've had shootings or really near misses. And so it really is getting to be very frightening. And when you think about it, we have preschool kids here like 3 years old, not third grade, 3 and 4, and kindergartners are 5 years old. And to try to explain to them why we have to do an active shooter drill, that's it's almost heartbreaking, honestly.
There's a program, because I work as a facilities manager at St. Rita Parish down in Dallas.
Yeah.
And it's a pre-K through 8th grade, so Alice.
That's what we do. We do Alice trained,
Yeah.
So we do Alice program with our students as well, and they have a curriculum for young ones too. But we practice evacuating the school. Used to be too, 3 or 4 years ago even, they said the best thing to do is to lock the doors, turn off the lights, and hide in a corner. And they really found that that's not an effective strategy. So now it's if you can get away, get away. So we practice. More, and it's enhanced lockdowns too, so you don't sit in the corner and be a shooting duck where you huddle everybody and kind of spread out. But, that's one difficult thing with having, pre-K through 8th grade, is that 14-year-olds are a lot different in what they can do and process, especially in that experience, than what 3-year-olds can do.
See,
So
think
we've got
about it, back 50 years, just like our houses, doors were unlocked, people came and go, running in the
Terry
neighborhood.
Meisner.
Brings back old times, huh, Terry?
I feel right at home now.
Yeah.
It wasn't me, I heard.
Yeah, okay, Jackson. It was my idea. Yeah, okay.
That was.
With the technology and everything.
Yeah.
Do the younger kids still get recess?
They do. I don't know if you noticed, but we have been putting a lot of money and work into the building. We put in a lot of work on our playground over the last couple of years. So they get recess for all of the grades. Really have recess as part of their lunchtime, even through 8th grade. We can still go out in the field, but our little ones go out during the day too. So there's an area of the playground that has one of the rubberized surfaces. That's for the little kids like kindergarten and preschool. If you look, there's a shed, which is really cute, and we have these little bikes that are in the shed, and they can ride the bikes around the track and stuff. So that's really cool for little ones. And then we bought, I think, not last summer, the summer before last, we built onto the other playground we have, and we have a lot more equipment out there as well. And it used to be called, when I came here, this was really one of the things that I wanted to do, that area where the playground is, there was a fence all the way around there, because I think back in the day it was tennis courts there, which weren't being used at all. And they took the tennis courts out, and there was blacktop in there, and there was a fence surrounding it. Well, they called this area the cage. And, we're going to go out and play in the cage. And I'm like, I don't think, having a cage really makes a lot of sense. So we expanded the playground. We put in a lot more landscaping out there, and we took out 2 sides of the fence that was there too. I still hear, and we also did a lot of improvements on the field too. Soccer is a big thing now. I know maybe, I know in the '70s, like the baseball league was super popular in Niles. And I think even in the '80s and stuff too, there was just a ton of kids playing baseball out on our field. Park District baseball was really popular then. That really is kind of really tailed off, you know, for good or bad, it's just the way it is, I'm not saying either way. And so we've been working on our field. We actually moved the baseball diamond the summer before last to over here. We have a new diamond out there, which is really nice for the younger kids like T-ball and Little League. And we've been working on our field in terms of soccer, which is with the Park District. We come out here on the weekends, lots of kids out there playing soccer. Yeah?
I gotta know, so you serve, hot food here.
Yes, yeah.
How much is it for a meal if I wanna get?
Good question. How much do you think it is?
It used to be 35
35
cents.
cents.
It's $2.90 now.
That's not bad.
$2.90.
How much is subsidized?
Still wax feet?
And that was way too much.
It's at 35 cents. What's the story? Is it 35 or was it
50 years ago.
25 and an 80, 10 cents for extra plate.
When I was in junior high, I remember milk was 4 cents. I would get pennies from my mom. Yeah.
Do you still do the star under the plate and you get a free sundae?
No.
On spaghetti day?
Spaghetti day. No. We do pasta. We the nutrition guidelines have changed. So unfortunately, we sort of flaunt the rules a little bit on this. I hate to admit, maybe if you're really super health conscious, you won't like me, but they used to have a Culver cookie. Did they have the Culver cookie when you were here? That was
No, he was still here.
Culver was here?
He was still here. He was the superintendent.
He was alive when we were here.
I think he died in his office. That's what I heard. But they do have a lot of nutritional guidelines, and they had a cookie that they were giving to kids, and really the nutritional guidelines say that you really can't have cookies either, but we still do the Culver cookie. But we do have our own lunch program still, which is really unusual. Most school districts, you contract out and there's a food provider and they provide meals for the kids. But we still make the meals here. We do have a kitchen, if you want to see, I'll take you over there. And they don't make the meals from scratch, right? I mean, they don't make pasta from hand, or they don't make the pasta sauce, but they put the meal together. And I think, they would, if you talk to the kids, they would all complain about the food, but for what they pay,
Some things
they
don't
actually,
change.
it's a pretty good deal. $3, less than $3. I think a milk is 50 cents today. I think the government used to subsidize milk
Some of that.
quite a bit, and they don't really do that so much anymore.
With all of the ethnicities, like my next door neighbor here, Niles, is Muslim. Do you have different dietary places for them to eat and different?
No, I think the thing is to try to get the kids to mix together, honestly. The only sort of distinction, right, the allergies. We have a table for allergies because some students have severe, especially peanut allergies. So that would be the only distinction. Otherwise, they sit by grade level and we kind of encourage them to kind of mix it up. And, our kids I think it's sort of similar to when you were in school, right? A lot of our kids, they're in one building now. Even, we have preschool, right? So they could be here for 11 years together. Wow. And so in 8th grade, I know that our kids feel like, many of their classmates are like brothers and sisters. And sort of, right, exactly. Well, you know how that works, too, right?
Yeah, but you become friends.
Right. So, it's like one big family because they've been together so long. We generally speaking have three classes at each grade level. So we have 3 sections of kindergarten and first grade. We have a big 5th grade class, so we actually have 4 sections of 5th grade. But
and how many students are in a class?
we have small class sizes, so it would really vary between like 19 students might be our smallest class, up to 23, okay, and some of the 23 or 24, which is really good. But we are growing, and so that really has pushed our class sizes higher. We have no spare classrooms now, so if I wanted to add a classroom, I can't. I'd have to have a class later or a library.
Are you still tracking?
We don't, tracking is something that's pretty much gone away too, but we do have different levels of classes. And when you have a small school, then that starts to lead to tracking, honestly. And probably wouldn't say it that way if I was in front of our parents here today too. But, so I'm not sure what you mean, but we do have like 3 different levels of math class in middle school. Like our 8th graders can take geometry, which is a sophomore level class at Niles West. Algebra, or we call it regular, like middle school math, basically. So depending on what level you're in, again, we only have 3 different sections of each grade level. So you your schedule kind of starts to get locked in if you're in a small school and you have these different levels. We don't have any designations in our ELA classes, so that helps a little bit. But it's that math, sort of tracking that can kind of lead to that. But we don't have the bluebirds or the redbirds. When you think about it, here's one other big difference too. When you graduated in '69, there was no special ed law in the country. The idea was in 1972, Molloy School, which is our special ed program, they just celebrated their 50th anniversary too. So Molloy School was just established when you graduated. In the 60s, if you had special needs, mostly the schools then said, we can't serve you, and you just stayed home with your parents. That was it.
They had a special
But they
class.
did.
They did have a special
Yeah.
I was in it.
Yeah. But there were other kids probably that were more needy than you.
Yeah, Bob, come on.
I was put in it by Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And me thinking it was punishment, which
Yeah.
was the best learning lesson.
There you have it.
It was,
No, but they did have EMH and TMH.
Yeah,
That's what they
yeah,
called it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good.
What's it politically?
But there was no, there was no idea law back then, and a lot of schools, if you had a lot of needs, if you're in a wheelchair, they just said, we don't have a place for you. That was it. So, that's, some things are for the better. I really do think that every kid deserves an education. And,
Well, are they all mainstreamed, or what do you?
well, so that's a really good question too. And the rule is least restrictive environment. It's what mostly the kids are mainstreamed here, but some of our kids who can't stay in class, even with support, are pulled out for part of the day. So it just really depends on their ability, but they can't, it's just too much for them. So, but most of our students that are in special ed are in the regular classes, right? We just have a small pull-out program, probably for less than 10 kids.
Do they have aids?
We have lots of aides, yeah. We have a big, honestly, I don't know if you know much about Niles, and again, I'll just say this because it's, you're not really parents anymore, I probably wouldn't put it this way, but in Niles, we're really lucky. This community has a lot of resources, even though our population is that we have a lot of low income. We're kind of in the middle. 50% is probably kind of in the middle of the pack in the state of Illinois. We're not a rich community, that's for sure, but we're very rich in terms of resources in this district. And that said too, we also have the lowest tax rate in the whole area, maybe not in all of Cook County, but if you wanted a low place for low property taxes, this district would be the place to be. And the reason, there's a lot of reasons for that, but our district is actually pretty big, but only, this district, only half of it is residential. If you go over here, this is our district, and all of the industrial plants and stuff, there's no houses there, and they all pay taxes. And so that's really a big help for us financially. So there's nobody to educate over there, and then all of those businesses pay lots of taxes. And so that, makes it so that we have actually a lot of resources. We do spend more than the state average, honestly, per child here. And so we have a lot of support for the kids, and that's one of the reasons why we do so well, I think, in terms of our exemplary rating and how well our kids do. We have a lot of reading support teachers, math support teachers. We do a lot of interventions. And we really have high expectations for our students too. but having lots of resources in a low tax district like we have is really unusual. So I don't know how what you feel about that or whatever, but that is the reality of this, and it's really nice for the community. I don't think the community really realizes what a great school it is. Part of the problem, of Niles is that, it doesn't really have a downtown area, I think that's something that they're still working on. Yeah, right, exactly. And then we have there's really 3 districts that serve Niles too. We have 71, and then part of Park Ridge School District, and then there's East Main. If you live on the other side of Harlem, right, those kids go to Main East or Main South. And so, it's kind of a weird sort of city, and it lays out, kind of diagonal along Milwaukee Avenue and stuff too. And so, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but we have a lot of good schools with a lot of resources, and so that's one great thing about the community still.
Yeah, because in the years back, I remember, didn't they, on the high schools, New
Yeah.
Trier and all, didn't they consolidate or something on the high school level?
No, there's been very little consolidation. If you want to,
Back when we were up,
Yeah.
Niles North consolidated.
East is
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah,
is
East was gone, my
Right.
sister went to East, but then Niles North closed too, I don't know what
No,
year.
North isn't.
North is.
North is-
Niles North closed.
They're there.
East close. North and west are the
Oh,
two
Main
big.
North, I'm sorry, you're right,
Yeah.
Main North,
The
sorry.
2 big schools are North and West. All of our students still go to West. They have Niles Central too, but that's mostly like an alternative program.
So is South, are you absorbing those
What?
kids from the South, now South?
Oh, the elementary? Yeah,
Elementary.
so we run buses over there, all those kids, the district, the same boundaries, I'm sure, as when you were here. So there's a little area right south of Tui where South School is, that's still part of our district. Almost all of our kids, part of the resources thing too, there's a bus for everybody. If you live right across the street on Oakton, you can get on a bus to come over here. But so you don't have to cross Oakton. I think in the 70s, somebody got, I think, maybe even killed walking across the street on Oakton.
They still got crossing guards?
Yeah, there's a crossing guard.
Because we were crossing guards, we were
No,
We were crossing guards.
Right, we don't have kid crossing
We were
guards.
crossing guards.
Don't do
Or you
that.
just ran really fast between the cars.
Bob was the crossing guard, he still got his belt.
I still got it.
No, there's no, the kids aren't, we have,
Mine shrunk.
we have professional crossing guards, they work for the police departments.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
We got to go to the Cubs
They're
game, I was
adults.
telling Rick, being a crossing guard,
Yeah.
if you showed up, you got to go to the Cubs game. I think some White Sox fans, but.
Well, that's back in the day when the Cubs were bad.
Well, hey, that was
It's reason to
69,
come
wait a
by.
second, 68, 69,
Well, there you
we
go.
were pretty good.
Well, a few more questions and then, we'll walk, yeah.
Are there any kids who don't speak English as their first language at home?
Yes, lots. So we don't, we don't have a big EL population because our huge EL population, English learner population, because this is like the second spot where a lot of our families come to, I would say, for the most part. Our biggest language spoken at home though is Spanish. So we have 79 families out of like 400 where Spanish is the primary language. But we don't have more than, but those students are still proficient mostly in English. We only have like 12 Spanish-speaking students in our EL program that need services. We don't have 20 students in any one language that need services. But we do have a big mix. Arabic, some of the Arabic-speaking families, that's a big population for us too, honestly. But we don't, it's a big sort of melting pot here. We have lots of languages, but small numbers of all of these things. But we have a good Polish population too, I think. But we probably have, I don't know, I looked at the numbers, maybe 50 families where Polish is the primary language at home. But it's not, you know, at the top. Spanish is, you know, which is true in a lot of areas as well. Other questions?
Hang on, just one last.
Yeah.
So I wanna know, where you grew up, what school,
Yeah.
and how long have you been the superintendent here?
I've been a superintendent for 5 years here. Before that, I was a superintendent in Harwood Heights for 6 years. So I don't know, I'm getting more experience. I used to be a young superintendent, not so much anymore. I grew up in Wheaton. I went to Wheaton North. I graduated in 1983 from Wheaton North High School. But I went to after I graduated from college. I was a teacher at St. Ignatius in San Francisco for most of that time, which I love too. I love the kids.
How'd you end up here?
You know, well, my family's here, and my brother and my sister and my mother and my father, and so at that time I had a young daughter, and we thought it would be best to move back here to be, part of our family, because we didn't really have much extended family there. And that was a really good decision. So I thought that I would be an administrator at high school, but my first job was being an assistant principal at a middle school. And I feel like that was so lucky, I didn't really consider it to be lucky at the time, but I think it is lucky because in the elementary setting, which we have, the staff, who I'm also really proud of and close to, they're so much more nurturing, honestly, than in a high school. And so I feel very fortunate to be, I think we talk a lot about community here and working together. And so, I'm just really proud of how you can do that. And in a high school, things are more siloed, and you don't talk to, if I'm teaching science, which is what I did, I probably wouldn't know most of the teachers in the family and consumer sciences department. And that's not the case here. We all know each other and stuff. So it's really a great place to work.
What would you say is your biggest challenge?
Here? Honestly, okay, so
Work within the budget.
I have to say, so if you guys have kids maybe, or you're dealing with your grandparents, as an administrator, dealing with needy parents is really the hardest thing, to be honest. And I think as you get older, you have a little bit more experience, and and I think things have. I don't want to say things have changed. Some things have changed for the better, like I talked about special ed laws, right? And some things are tougher. I think that, and this is why we talk a lot about community, because we have to work together. It's not all about your individual child, right? I can't have one teacher for every one student, and I only have a certain number of teachers. And every kid can't be in that teacher's class, whatever that most popular teacher is. There's some give and take that have to happen. Some parents are very needy, and if they're kindergarten, kids don't know, right? And if a kid stomps on another kid, they don't really know any better, right? But sometimes the parents, they want blood, because my kid got kicked by another kid, and it's, that is really the toughest thing. But that's part of my job. It's working with these families and letting them know, they're only kindergartners. Sometimes it's just part of growing up. It's not what I want. I don't want any child to get hurt, right? But we can't bubble wrap the kids either. And when things go wrong, that's when all of learning happens for everybody. And you can't take that away, right? And it's terrible too when, another child says to your kid that they're not good somehow, or their clothes are ugly, and, whatever. Your mom is ugly too. And I don't really want that to happen. It's a hard balance, right? But it's part of the process, right? Of figuring out how to deal with difficult people. And you have to let your kids go through that, even though it's heartbreaking. And I think that's the hardest thing, right?
And teach the parents.
Right.
Yeah.
They got wisdom.
Well, you gotta relax a little bit, right? I mean, it's okay. They're gonna get through, and they're gonna make it. And because they got kicked in kindergarten, it's not gonna be the end of the world, really.
I don't think our parents were as involved in
No.
Oh, not
day-to-day
even
life.
close.
Yeah.
I mean, we would leave home and not come
The
back.
teachers
till-
were right.
Not
The
even
teachers
close.
said was right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's exactly.
So I
Your
think, you
parents
know,
came to school.
I think that that's probably, but getting, you know, my job is really, we have a school board, there was a school board back then too. I have 7 bosses, you know, on the school board, so my job really is to work with the school board to set a plan and some goals for the school and make sure that we're on the same page and try to bring that plan, you know, into life.
Still got a PTA?
We have a PTA, our PTA is doing well. We also, so I remodel again, we put up those plaques, those are all the PTA presidents, I think, from the beginning of the district, from the 30s.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe some of your parents were there, yeah.
President?
I don't know if she
Do you ever have
was. She was
teacher
very involved.
reunions?
We have, you know what, we have like a retirement banquet every year at the end of the year, and a lot of our retirees come back, at their retirement.
Mr. Blank, do you know Ray Blank?
I don't.
Yeah.
He gave out Mounds bars, so you over cookies, if you did good, he threw you a Mounds.
Yeah, I didn't teach him like that too in 8th grade.
My favorite teacher.
Yeah. She would whip the candy out of us, and if we didn't touch it, we had to give it back. Let's come on this way though, let's,